Today we have the pleasure of speaking with George Franklin. George Franklin is the oldest and longest living African American with his deceased donor kidney. Welcome, George, and please share your story with us.
Well, thank you, Miss Shirley. I think everybody's heard my story, so we can almost skip that. But I started dialysis right after high school, a couple of months, 2, 3 months after graduation, I think, in 1972, November. Now, a lot of things happened in between June and November that included my going into a coma, being in the hospital, doctors pronouncing me unsalvageable, uh, told my mother that I would not live to see the next day. And I think this winter will be the 51st anniversary of their being wrong and God being right. Um, I was on hemodialysis, and center was all they had at the time for 3 years. In that 3 year period, I got a kidney transplant in April of 75. That never functioned. They took it out 2 weeks later, the day after Mother's Day. And I stayed on dialysis the whole 2 weeks. And then my second kidney came, deceased donor came 6 months later in November 4th, 1975. I am incredibly blessed to still have that kidney functioning almost 48 years. Right now, my GFR runs about 30. It dropped in 2016, I think it was, because the kidney was attacked by a virus. And it went from 75% down to as low as 26%, getting ready for a living donor transplant when it went back up to 45%. And as I said, it's been hovering between that and 30% for the last 4 years or so. Most people know that last year at the Transplant Games, I swam my 50-meter backstroke miserably, got out of the pool, and went into cardiac arrest. I did not know until recently that we had two medical professionals on staff that were there, and I was told they were at my side practically. That by the time I hit the pool deck, I actually hit one of the team managers from another team, and she grabbed me, trying to keep me from falling on the concrete deck. And but I am still alive and breathing and grateful every single day. All right, that's the kidney story. The Quarter Century Club. Quarter Century Club, I founded along with a friend, Barbara Witt, who was the first person to contact me when I tried to find long-term recipients. Now, this was in 2003, and 75, 85, 95, 05, I'd had my transplant for, I think, 27 years. And I'm thinking, as most people do, I'm the oldest. Well, I wasn't the oldest because my vice president was longer with her father's kidney than I was with my deceased donor. We started a club. We have a little over 200 members, I think 210, 220 members, all of whom have had their transplant at least 25 years. Maybe 10 or 12 years ago, we started a cumulative thing where most transplant professionals will tell you most people are not going to keep their kidney for 25 years. Some will, some won't. Those that won't or don't and are able to get a second transplant, then you relist. Fortunately, hopefully you will get a living donor and not have to go on dialysis or anything. In the case of a heart, liver, lung, you have to have that transplant. But in any case, we made it cumulative. So if you keep one kidney for 20 years or a heart for 20 years and then keep it for 5, then you've got your 25 and you're welcome to join. We realized that some of our members had living donors. So we invited those living donors to join us if their recipient was a member. The recipient has to keep their transplant for 25 years. They can join, and then we welcome the living donors. The Quarter Century Club, we have a Facebook page. It's only open to members of the club. And the only time we can get together, because we're international and we're all across this country, is at the Transplant Games. That's my segue into the Transplant Games. We do host, since 2004, a dinner dance at the Transplant Games. The first one we had was in 2004, and it was just 15 of the club members that we had at the time, and a couple of friends that were invited to come attend the TGIF dinner. Now we have upwards of 400 or 500 people attending our event. We're probably the largest single event at the Transplant Games. And it's a time where we can kick off our shoes, we can dance, we can eat dinner, we can fellowship amongst the tables and go around and see people we haven't seen up until that time. The Transplant Games are held every even year nationally since 1990. How people still are unaware stuns me. So they're like the Olympics, except the Olympic Committee would not allow us to use the word Olympics. So they're called Transplant Games. We run, we jump, we swim, we golf, we bowl, we play tennis, we play cornhole, darts, volleyball, basketball, and whatever else is trivia, whatever else is on the very long list of events that we host, that the Transplant Games host. Each state has at least one team. And I'll preface that by saying some states have joined other states, like New Jersey is with Team Philly. I think Delaware is with Team Philly because they're so close across the bridge from each other. So Team Philly has a very large team. Some teams have 2 and 3. Some states have 2 and 3 teams, like New York has at least 3 teams. I think they have 4, but I know they have 3. One in Buffalo, one in New York City, somewhere in between there. Pennsylvania has Team Pittsburgh. They have Team Philly. California has at least 2 teams, Northern Cal and Southern Cal. So you guys being in Florida, everyone has the option of either going with their team where they were transplanted, if you were transplanted in another state, or the state in which you live. So I was transplanted in Washington, D.C. Currently, Washington, D.C. doesn't have any teams. They used to, but they don't have one now. So I go with Team Maryland. I live in Maryland, so that works for me. But you do get that choice. I know registration will be probably $145. I think last year was $140. They usually go up $5 every year. So $145, $150. Then there's your hotel for however many days you choose to come. Then there is your food and assorted expenses. And but for something that happens only every other year, with COVID having canceled the 2020 games, and the 2022 games were in California, which were incredibly expensive. Birmingham, Alabama should be a lot cheaper than San Diego, California. It is truly an event that you will always remember if you only go one time. And the reason why I'm pushing it so is because you guys are relatively close. My bag of medals that I have, I don't know if you can see them. Oh, they should be in front of me, right? That I have at the games. I don't know how many in there, but it's a rack of them. And as I was telling Shirley earlier, the games for me are not about medals now because so many people have so daggone many. But they train. They have a trainer, and they train and they swim and they run and they jump and they do whatever they have to do all the time. I don't have that kind of time and money. So if I get a medal, I'm happy. If I get two, I'm even happier. If I don't get any, I'm fine. I'm fine because I was able to be there. I was able to compete. And I saw people that I hadn't seen since the last games. In San Diego, I was fortunate that I was able to take a lot of pictures at the convention center when we're going around getting all of our freebies and hugging and kissing and everything. Everybody had their mask on in California, so it was kind of hard, but it was so good to see people that we hadn't seen since 2018 because of COVID. We have these trading pins. Now, I am a trading pin hog, and let's see. This is the trade. Well, we don't trade, but this is my pin from my club. It says Quarter Century Club. And I don't see Team Maryland sitting on my dresser, but this would be the pin from Team Minnesota Dakota. I don't know, right there, I guess. So we all have these little trading pins. And so my first couple of days, and I usually start at the airport if I see anybody I know, starting to trade lapel pins because it's illegal for me to leave the games unless I have a pin from every single team. There are teams that come from Hawaii. There are teams that come from Puerto Rico. And there's one guy that comes from Australia every single game because he can. He's grateful to have his transplant. The games next year will again be in Birmingham, Alabama, July 5th to July 10th. You compete in your own age bracket. Like next April, Lord willing, I'll be 70. I know it don't look like it if I move this gray out the way, but I'll be 70 years old. So I'll be at the bottom of my competition age range. My age will be 70 to 79, 60 to 69, 30 to 39, and so forth. So you compete in your age bracket, you compete in your gender, or you have sports that you have mixed, like mixed doubles in bowling, mixed doubles in tennis, mixed doubles in this or that, where there's a male and a female. Everybody can go to transplantgamesofamerica.org, I think, or .com, one or the other, and you can see all the results from all the previous years in all of the sports. The only one that might look a little funny is the swimming last year because they had to shut the pool down when George went into cardiac arrest. So nobody else got to swim after me. So what they did was, Bill being the consummate chairman, he said, swim at home, give me your times, everybody on the honor roll here, and whoever gets gold, silver, and bronze, and that's who we'll give it to. And we do get medals, which I showed you, and we all have team hats. Oddly enough, I didn't think to look for my Team Maryland hat until 10 minutes before the Zoom, so I couldn't find one. But this is the Team Texas hat. I don't know if you can see it. All right, that's the Team Texas hat. For any Green Bay Packers fans, I know y'all have seen the Mystic. I don't see the top of my head. Oh, the Mystic cheese wedge. And for the life of me, I can't remember if the Corn people or Kansas or Iowa, but they gave me one on my 40th anniversary. Team Maryland has a crab hat, and our hat, as big and hefty as these other hats are, our hat is the one everybody wants, is the Team Maryland hat. So I'll have to make sure I order and pay for a bunch of them so I can give them to my new Team Florida friends. And now I think that is it as far as a presentation. But if you guys can make it anyhow, anyway, even if you don't compete, you can register as non-athletes, as supporters for $40, I think, $50, whatever it is. You get a bag of freebies and whatever the all the different vendors will be offering that year. EMAT and Trisha's foundation will have a booth there. Um, uh, it will be an experience, and because it's only every other year, no one knows the day nor the hour. So you really, if you can go, I would always say do go. And now we're open for questions.
Since it's National Multi-Ethnic Minority Donor Awareness Month, I know a little bit about your transplant. Can you share with everyone your story and your connection? You have a unique story with Dr. Clive Callender, who founded this national observance when it was just for 1 week. Can you touch a little bit on that and share that golden nugget?
Sure. Dr. Clive Callender is an institution. I mean, I bless God that he is still with us, but I can't imagine the honors that they will bestow upon him. You know, he founded this great month when it, like I said, when it was a week. He founded the MOTEP organization, Minority Organ Tissue Transplant Education Program. He started 3 different dialysis centers when only the hospitals could afford them. He took his money and started one down on the islands in Jamaica, I believe. So he is a true pioneer. He's no longer doing surgery, I hope, but I know he is still involved in the organ and tissue transplant realm. When you know someone for so many decades, because my surgeon, Glenn W. Gilhood, did my surgical work, but then 2 days later he had to leave town. So Dr. Clive Callender was responsible for coming to George Washington University Medical Center down the street from Howard, and where he worked and did his surgery, and he had to follow us. So I'm probably, I'd wager, his oldest patient right now, you know, because this was in 1975, November. And it just stuns me. And then we sent Trish a picture, but in that picture, and we should have invited him to this call, was Robert Chelsea. Robert Chelsea is the oldest African American with a full face transplant. His car broke down on the road. A car ran into him. His car burst into flames. God sent angels to pull him out, and his skin was just physically burning on him, and he had to have his entire face transplanted. But in that picture was Dr. Callender, Robert Chelsea, and myself. Dr. Clive Callender was one of the first African American transplant surgeons in the world. And then you have me, and then you have Robert. And so in hindsight, yes, it was history. So I'm going to have to print that picture and put it up on my wall. And we're all doing quite well. Now, the National Kidney Foundation of Maryland, I have a very good relationship with. They paid my airfare to California and to Florida because I was supposed to come to talk to you guys at an event last August. Well, George ended up in the hospital and ended up having to do a GoFundMe so he could afford to fly a friend out to come get me, since the doctors would let me fly by myself. And the rest is history. But I am very blessed, and I got the sense to know it. And I think sometimes certainly recipients, we know we are blessed. We're very fortunate, particularly recipients that have someone that is willing to put their life on the line for their friend. And yeah, I'm talking about you, Trish. You know, that is something special. That is something special. And we do honor our living donors. They have very special programs at the games to honor living donors. And when the living donors, now this is going to be weird this year because he's trying to do everything indoors because of the heat down in Birmingham. But ordinarily, we would march in just like the Olympians do on TV at the real Olympics, and they march around holding flags and everything. And then when the living donors march in, there's not a dry eye because so many people owe their lives to a friend or a stranger that decided to make an altruistic donation or a paired donation or whatever to save someone else's life with a piece of liver, with a kidney. Any other questions?
How's everybody doing? I just want to piggyback off of George with the Transplant Games. This is a shirt from San Diego. I was fortunate to go to Salt Lake City in Utah, and I'll never forget it because just before the games, I was in the hospital. Matter of fact, I was in the hospital. They had done CPR for 59 minutes and brought me back to life and everything like that in June, and the games were in August. And I was so determined to go. And I mean, literally just getting out of the hospital, you had to get waivers signed and everything like that. And my doctors refused to sign the waivers. And I remember going to my doctor, I had to go to the hospital. I looked at him and I said, look, man, I've been through 59 minutes of CPR, 15 times with a defibrillator. If God didn't want me here to go there, he wouldn't have had me here. And the guy signed it. And I actually participated in about 4 or 5 events. But the California one was special because I got to meet George there. I got to meet Clive there. I got to meet it's one thing when you see people on Facebook, but then when you get all these people together and you have all these things in common, and when I say in common, the transplant, and the most emotional part is the living donors. I mean, I cried just thinking about it. It's put on well. Bill Lyons is a great guy. It's something, once again, it's a lifetime experience. I'm hoping to go this year. Unfortunately, well, not unfortunately. Fortunately, I'm actually in Tennessee now, getting reworked for another heart transplant. And I feel very confident. I'm at Vanderbilt, which I did not know was the #1 heart transplant center in the world. So hopefully I'll have another story coming out of this, getting to the Transplant Games. But the other thing is, like, I did get to meet Clive there. I got to meet the young man who passed away, unfortunately, with the Why Not Foundation. Philip, yeah. And then I actually got to win a silver medal in cornhole.
Really?
Yeah, I was shocked too. And I'm not a cornhole player, but you know what? It's all fun, and you're playing against other people who, some of these people they do this professionally. I'm gonna be honest with you. A lot of people take this stuff seriously. But one thing that I won't forget is when George had his cardiac arrest. Everybody at the Transplant Games, we all started praying. He's like, I guess, he's one of the, everybody knows him, with his Maryland crab hat on. So it was very, very emotional. But once they heard that he was doing all right, it was a blessing, because the last thing you want to do in that event is lose anyone, let alone someone who means a lot. So I would definitely recommend it. The first 2 I went to was not expensive. I paid out of pocket, but God is good. But this one here will be in Birmingham, and I'm 2 hours away. I'm definitely looking forward to it. And if anyone needs any help, because it'll be a whole lot cheaper. And Birmingham is not, it's coming along. There's a lot of history, especially Black history there. But it's not like spread out. Like San Diego was huge. I cherish my medal. But it wasn't really about the medal. It was about meeting the people and hearing the stories, because that gives you hope when you see people who've had their organ for 47 years. When you see people who've had their organ for 1 year,
Right.
it means a lot, because this gift we have is truly a gift, and the gift is from someone else. All of our gifts come from another person, and I definitely appreciate Trish, because to be an organ donor is very, very important, and it means a lot, not only to us, but to other people too. So I definitely encourage everyone to go.
George, are you on any particular medication now? If so, how many?
For 45 years, one shy of my anniversary, I believe, I was on azathioprine, Imuran, as well as prednisone. That was it. I say 145th, I think it was my 45th. I started having gout problems because of the decreased, and my glasses fogged up because I started crying because of Tony. So we had to put me on a different transplant med, and that was mycophenolate, i.e. Cellcept. And I take 500 milligrams of Cellcept in the morning and at night, and I still take my 5 milligrams of prednisone. I'm on 5 or 6 or 7 different blood pressure medications, but I'm slowly able to get off of a couple of them. I've already been taken off a couple. The clonidine, I'm down to 1 a day instead of 3. And I stopped my losartan. I was taking 100. Then I went down to 25, and now I'm doing 50 once a day. And I was taking it 2 or 3 times a day. So my pressure is getting better. I've lost weight since California. So I think that has a lot to do. And then Joey, walking me 5, 6, 7 times a day. I think he has a lot to do with it as well. Tony, you messed me up, man. Yeah, but that's it. That's all I'm taking.
We appreciate you and continue to enjoy your Sunday evening. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
everybody.
you.